The grand hall of the Enchantment Guild buzzed with anticipation. Glittering chandeliers cast a warm glow over the crowd, their faces illuminated with a mix of awe and envy. This was the day of the annual Spellcraft Showcase, where the most skilled magicians demonstrated their prowess, vying for the admiration of the Guild's council. Among them stood Mira, Riven, and Tessa, their hearts pounding as they prepared to present their latest collaborative creation. Mira adjusted her vibrant robes, the fabric shimmering like the surface of a lake at sunset. She glanced at her friends, each lost in their thoughts. Riven, with his tousled hair and intense gaze, stared out at the audience, his elemental magic swirling around him in gentle currents. Tessa, calm and collected, exuded a healing aura that soothed those nearby, her compassion evident in her soft smile. "Remember, this is our moment," Mira whispered, trying to boost their spirits. "We've worked too hard to let nerves get the best of us." Just as Riven nodded in agreement, the Guild's Grandmaster, an imposing figure with a flowing silver beard, stepped forward to address the assembly. His voice boomed, cutting through the chatter like a thunderclap. "Welcome, esteemed members and honored guests. Today we celebrate the pinnacle of magical innovation and discipline." The trio exchanged glances. It was their time to shine, but they could feel the weight of the Guild's expectations bearing down on them. They had spent countless hours refining their spell, a unique blend of elemental manipulation, healing, and illusion. It was a gamble, one that strayed from tradition, but they believed it could showcase the future of magic. As the moment arrived, Mira stepped forward. "Honored Council, we present to you the elemental enchantment." Riven conjured a sphere of swirling wind and fire, while Tessa enhanced it with healing light. Together, they infused their magic into a magnificent display, causing the sphere to expand into a vibrant, pulsing orb that danced in the air. The crowd gasped, captivated by the colors and the sheer power emanating from their creation. But just as the spectacle reached its zenith, an unexpected surge of energy erupted. The orb flickered violently, spiraling out of control. Panic surged through the audience as the magic reacted unpredictably, sending a shockwave of shimmering energy crashing into the walls. The hall trembled, and the chandeliers rattled dangerously. Mira's heart raced. "Riven, Tessa, we need to contain it." They scrambled, trying to regain control, but the chaos only escalated. The swirling colors morphed into wild shapes, shadowy beasts, elements colliding in a cacophony of sound. Gasps turned to screams as spectators ducked for cover. The Grandmaster's voice boomed again, but this time it was laced with fury. "Enough. This reckless display endangers us all." In an instant, the shimmering energy collapsed, leaving the hall in an eerie silence. The audience, once filled with wonder, now regarded the trio with fear and distrust. Mira felt her heart sink as the Grandmaster pointed a gnarled finger at them. "You have defied the principles of our craft. For your reckless endangerment of this guild, you are hereby expelled." The words struck like a thunderbolt. Shocked gasps erupted around them. Riven clenched his fists, fury and confusion coursing through him. Tessa's expression turned from shock to devastation. As they were ushered out, Mira caught a glimpse of the faces in the crowd, some filled with sympathy, others with contempt. The once coveted magicians were now outcasts, their dreams shattered in an instant. They left the hall, not only cast out from the guild, but burdened with the weight of failure. As they stood outside in the cool evening air, the reality of their situation hit them hard. "What do we do now?" Tessa whispered, her voice trembling. Riven looked at his friends, determination igniting in his eyes. "We find a way to prove them wrong. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning." With that, the trio turned away from the gilded doors of the guild, ready to embrace their uncertain future. Life beyond the gilded walls of the Enchantment Guild was a harsh and unforgiving reality. The trio wandered through the bustling streets of Eldoria, their robes now tattered and their faces marked by a mix of determination and uncertainty. Street vendors shouted out their wares, Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, and children played with makeshift toys, oblivious to the struggles that loomed just beyond their world. Mira found herself staring at a street performer, a juggler whose flaming orbs danced gracefully through the air. He captivated the crowd, drawing laughter and applause. She longed for that kind of acceptance, the joy of sharing magic without fear of judgment. "Look at him," she said, gesturing toward the performer. "He has what we've lost, a connection to the people." "Yeah, but he's not using the same magic we did," Riven replied, his voice tinged with bitterness. "We were scholars, innovators. Now we're just outcasts." Tessa finished softly. She was trying to keep her spirits up, but her heart ached with the weight of rejection. They found a small, dimly lit tavern on a narrow street, its sign creaking in the wind. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of roasted meat and spilled ale. They settled into a corner booth, their table sticky with remnants of meals long past. "What's the plan?" Riven asked, picking at a piece of bread. "We can't just sit here." Mira leaned forward, her eyes shining with a flicker of hope. "I heard rumors about an underground magic festival happening soon, a place where unconventional magicians showcase their talents. We could go there, learn from others, and maybe even find a way to refine our spell." Tessa nodded slowly, her mind racing. "It could be dangerous, but we need to connect with other magicians. We can't let our talents wither away." As they discussed their plan, they drew the attention of a nearby table of ragtag magicians. One, a wiry man with wild hair and tattoos covering his arms, leaned closer, intrigued by their conversation. "You lot used to be part of the guild, didn't you? Heard about the spectacle you created. Quite the disaster, I'd say." Riven bristled at the jab, but Mira held up a hand. "We're looking to grow and learn. Do you know anything about this festival?" The man's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Oh, I know a thing or two. It's not just a showcase. It's a battleground for magical duels, and the stakes are high. You win, you gain respect. You lose, well..." He shrugged, letting the implication hang in the air. "We'll take our chances," Mira said firmly, her voice steady. The man raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. As night fell, the trio ventured into the heart of the festival, the streets alive with vibrant colors and sounds. Tents lined the alleys, each showcasing a different form of magic, elemental manipulation, enchanting illusions, even strange concoctions brewed from rare herbs. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter, excitement, and the unmistakable sense of freedom that had long eluded them. They watched a fire mage breathe flames, twisting them into shapes that danced in the night air. Nearby, an illusionist captivated a crowd, making objects disappear and reappear in a blur of color. Mira felt her heart quicken. This was the magic she craved, improvisational and bold. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the festival, drawing gasps from the crowd. A group of magicians had set up a challenge, their rivalry spilling over into chaos as spells collided midair. "We need to get in there," Riven exclaimed, excitement lighting his features. "Are you sure?" Tessa asked, a hint of concern in her voice. It could turn dangerous. But Mira smiled, her spirit ignited by the thrill. "We can't let fear hold us back. This is our chance to reclaim our place in the magical world." With renewed determination, they stepped into the fray, ready to embrace their new identities as outcasts, their spirits ignited by the possibilities ahead. The journey was just beginning, and they would carve their own path. The chaos of the underground magic festival swirled around Mira, Riven, and Tessa, invigorating them with a sense of belonging that had been absent since their expulsion from the guild. They watched in awe as magicians showcased their talents, elemental duels ignited with brilliant sparks, and illusions that mesmerized the crowd. It was intoxicating, each display a testament to the freedom they had yearned for. "Let's try something," Riven urged, his excitement bubbling over. "I'll conjure a whirlwind, and Mira can enhance it with her illusions, while Tessa channels her healing magic to keep us safe. Let's do it, Mira agreed, her heart racing at the thought of their first performance as outcasts. They quickly gathered their supplies and found a clearing where onlookers had begun to form. Riven summoned a gust of wind, swirling it around his body, his hair whipping in the breeze. Mira focused, weaving illusions into the wind, creating vibrant colors that danced like fireflies. Tessa stepped forward, her hands glowing with healing light, ready to support them if anything went awry. As they began, the crowd grew, captivated by their collaborative display. Just as they found their rhythm, a thunderous roar erupted from the far end of the festival. A massive shadow swept across the sky, causing the crowd to gasp in terror. What was that? Tessa shouted, shielding her eyes. A creature emerged, towering and fierce, its body a blend of shadow and twisted magic. It charged through the festival, scattering people in all directions, knocking over tents and leaving chaos in its wake. The air crackled with an unnatural energy, sending chills down Mira's spine. "Stay back," a voice shouted from the crowd. A seasoned fire mage stepped forward, flames swirling around him. "We need to contain it." The creature roared again, its piercing eyes locking onto the fire mage. The battle erupted, flames and shadows clashing in a chaotic dance. Mira's heart raced. This was not just a magical creature, it was a manifestation of dark power. "Riven, we have to help," she urged. "But how?" Riven replied, his confidence shaken. "We're not ready for something like this. We've got to try." Tessa's voice cut through the panic. "If we work together, we can channel our powers. It's what we've been training for." With a determined nod, they rushed into the fray, combining their magic. Riven conjured a whirlwind, sending debris flying and momentarily distracting the creature. Mira wove illusions around the beast, creating phantom images that confused it, while Tessa sent bursts of healing light to aid the fire mage. As they fought, the creature retaliated with dark tendrils of energy, slashing through the air and threatening to engulf them. "This is unlike anything we've faced," Mira yelled, ducking as a tendril whizzed past her. "We need to find its weakness." "Look at its core," Riven shouted, pointing to a pulsing orb nestled within the creature's chest. "That must be it." "But how do we reach it?" Tessa replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Together," Mira declared, determination hardening in her voice. "We can do this." They coordinated their attack, Riven creating a powerful gust to lift them above the chaos, while Mira focused her illusions to distract the beast. Tessa gathered her energy, preparing for one decisive strike. As they soared through the air, the creature swung wildly, but the trio remained undeterred. Tessa unleashed a brilliant wave of healing energy, amplifying Riven's wind and guiding it towards the orb. It struck with blinding brilliance, a mix of elemental force and light that reverberated through the creature. For a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze. The creature let out a final, anguished roar before collapsing, dissipating into wisps of dark energy that melted into the night. The crowd erupted in cheers, but the trio stood breathless, hearts racing. "We did it!" Riven exclaimed, a mix of disbelief and joy washing over him. But as the cheers faded, a heavy silence followed, the crowd turning to face them with a mixture of awe and wariness. Whispers began to circulate. "Who are they? Where did they come from?" Mira felt a knot of anxiety form in her stomach. Their triumph had brought them attention, but was it the kind they wanted? They had saved the day, but the shadows of doubt lingered. As the crowd began to disperse, a sense of unease settled over the trio. Something far darker lurked beyond the festival's lights, and they sensed that this was just the beginning. Their powers had been revealed, but so too had a new threat, one that would challenge everything they believed in. The aftermath of the creature's defeat left the trio in a whirlwind of emotions. While the crowd celebrated their unexpected heroes, Mira, Riven, and Tessa slipped away from the throng, seeking a quiet corner of the festival to regroup. The excitement of their victory was tinged with unease, a realization that their powers could attract both admiration and danger. "We need to understand what we just did," Tessa said, her brow furrowed as they found refuge beneath a canopy of twinkling lights. "We combined our magic in ways we never imagined." "Right," Riven agreed, excitement rekindling in his eyes. "But how? We barely scratched the surface of what we're capable of." Mira looked around, spotting a nearby tent adorned with intricate designs and symbols. "Let's check that out. It looks like it could be a place for magical studies." They entered the tent, greeted by shelves overflowing with dusty tomes and scrolls. A wizened woman with silver hair and sharp eyes sat behind a table cluttered with various magical artifacts. "Welcome, travelers. I see you're intrigued by the arcane arts," she said, her voice smooth like silk. "We just defeated a creature of dark magic," Mira began, her heart racing. "But we want to learn more about combining our powers. Can you help us?" The woman raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. "Ah, the fire, wind, and light. An interesting combination indeed. Magic is most potent when it flows freely between different sources. You must explore the boundaries of your abilities to unlock their true potential." Intrigued, Riven picked up a small orb pulsating with energy. "How do we do that?" "Practice and experimentation," the woman replied. "But be warned, pushing too far can have dangerous consequences. You must also face your fears. What you encountered earlier was only a glimpse of the darkness lurking in this realm." Tessa shivered at the thought, but squared her shoulders. "We'll take that risk. We've already faced rejection. We can't let fear hold us back." The woman nodded approvingly. "Very well. I'll share some ancient techniques that may aid you." She began to demonstrate a series of complex gestures, channeling energy through her fingertips. The air shimmered with light, casting colorful patterns on the walls. Mira watched intently, her mind racing to absorb every detail. "This is amazing. We can build on this. What if we added our own unique twists?" As the woman continued her demonstration, the trio practiced, each honing their skills. Riven focused on controlling elemental currents, drawing inspiration from the woman's techniques. Tessa experimented with enhancing Riven's wind with healing light, creating gentle gusts that not only lifted but soothed. Mira pushed her illusions further, crafting intricate mirages that danced around them, adding depth to their magical displays. Hours slipped by as they immersed themselves in practice. Each successful attempt brought them closer together, strengthening their bond and deepening their understanding of their individual powers. Suddenly, a commotion erupted outside the tent. Shouts rang out, and a sense of urgency flooded the atmosphere. "What's happening?" Riven asked, worry creeping into his voice. They rushed outside to find a crowd gathered, their faces pale with fear. In the center stood a familiar figure, the fire mage from earlier, his expression grave. "Another dark creature has been sighted at the edge of the festival. We need all capable hands." Mira's heart raced as she exchanged glances with her friends. "This is our chance to prove ourselves again," she said, adrenaline surging through her veins. "We've trained for this," Tessa replied, her resolve hardening. "Let's show them what we can do." As they stepped forward, ready to confront the new threat, the trio felt a surge of confidence and clarity. They had discovered not only new techniques, but also a deeper understanding of themselves and each other. They were no longer just outcasts. They were a team, united by purpose. The darkness that loomed at the edge of the festival was a test, one they were determined to face together. With their newfound power and unwavering spirit, they were ready to take on whatever challenge awaited them, knowing that their journey had only just begun. As the trio followed the fire mage through the bustling festival, Mira felt a mix of anticipation and dread. The atmosphere was electric, crackling with tension as whispers of the dark creature spread among the crowd. Riven and Tessa stayed close, their expressions determined yet anxious. "Stay sharp," the fire mage warned, his voice steady but urgent. This creature is said to be even more powerful than the last. We need every available magician to unite against it. Mira's heart raced. They were about to confront a true threat, one that could turn the tide of their newfound purpose. As they reached the edge of the festival grounds, they saw a horde of magicians assembling, some clutching staffs and others summoning elemental energies. Form a perimeter. The fire mage commanded, and the magicians quickly complied, creating a wall of magic and determination. Mira felt a surge of pride swell within her as she glanced at Riven and Tessa, who nodded in solidarity. However, just as the last of the magicians formed their ranks, a blinding flash of dark energy erupted from the forest, followed by a guttural roar that sent chills down their spines. The crowd gasped, and the atmosphere shifted from anticipation to fear. "We can't let it break through," Riven shouted, channeling his magic into a swirling wind barrier that whipped around them. "Mira, Tessa, prepare your spells." The creature emerged from the tree line, a monstrous figure wreathed in shadows and tendrils of dark magic. Its eyes glowed with malice as it surveyed the gathered magicians, and an unsettling silence fell over the crowd. The air thickened with tension, a palpable sense of impending doom. Suddenly, the creature lunged, slashing through the magical barriers with ease. Panic erupted among the ranks of magicians, and the fire mage shouted, "Hold your ground. We must unite our powers." In the chaos, Mira caught sight of the guild's members, their faces twisted in fear and disbelief. They had watched from a distance, arms crossed, their expressions a mix of skepticism and concern. Among them stood the Grandmaster, his piercing gaze fixed on the outcasts with an air of disapproval. "Mira, Riven, Tessa," the fire mage called, snapping her focus back to the battle. "We need your unique magic to distract it while we regroup." "Right," Mira shouted, her heart racing as she pushed through the fear. She summoned her illusions, weaving vibrant phantoms around the creature. Riven conjured a cyclone of wind, pulling the creature's attention away from the gathering magicians, while Tessa sent healing waves through the ranks, bolstering their resolve. But as they worked together, Mira couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She glanced back at the guild members, and for a brief moment, she locked eyes with the Grandmaster. His expression shifted, a flicker of recognition passing over his face, but it was quickly replaced with skepticism. "Can they really handle this?" a guild member muttered, casting a doubtful glance at the trio. "They're outcasts for a reason." Mira's heart sank at their disdain. She knew they were fighting not just for their lives, but for their place in the world. As the creature roared and swung its massive claws, she felt a swell of determination rise within her. "Let's show them what we can do," she shouted, rallying her friends. With renewed focus, they unleashed a powerful combination of their magic. Riven's winds whipped fiercely around the creature, while Mira's illusions dazzled and disoriented it. Tessa poured her energy into them, amplifying their abilities as they danced through the air. The creature staggered, and the tide of battle began to shift. Yet, amidst the chaos, Mira noticed the Grandmaster's expression change. The flicker of doubt transformed into something else. Curiosity, perhaps even admiration. "Look," a guild member shouted, pointing at the trio. "They're actually holding it back." Mira caught the words and felt a surge of hope. Maybe they could prove their worth after all. But just then, the creature unleashed a wave of dark energy, shattering their barrier and knocking several magicians to the ground. The crowd gasped, panic rippling through them. "Stay together," the fire mage shouted, but his voice was lost in the chaos. The guild members hesitated, caught between fear and the undeniable power of the outcasts. Mira knew they had to seize this moment. "We can't let fear paralyze us," she yelled. "We've faced rejection and darkness before. Together, we can push through." As the shadows loomed larger, the outcasts turned their focus inward, ready to confront the darkness, not just outside, but within themselves. This battle was more than a fight against the creature. It was a fight for their identity, their magic, and their place in a world that had cast them aside. The time had come to turn their rejection into strength. With renewed determination, Mira, Riven, and Tessa rallied alongside the other magicians. The dark creature, its massive form writhing with shadowy tendrils, roared again, shaking the very ground beneath them. As it surged forward, the air crackled with tension, and Mira felt a sense of urgency wash over her. Now, the Fire Mage commanded, and the collective power of the magicians surged. Waves of elemental magic combined, flames, winds, and healing light spiraled together in a breathtaking display of unity. Mira focused on her illusions, crafting vibrant images that flickered and danced around the creature. "Look at me," she shouted, trying to draw its attention. "Over here." Riven conjured a powerful gust of wind, directing it toward the beast. "It's working. Keep it distracted." His face was a mix of exhilaration and fear. As the creature lunged, its claws swiped through the air, narrowly missing Mira. She ducked and weaved, summoning phantoms of light that flickered and sparkled, creating a disorienting display. Tessa stepped forward, her hands glowing with healing energy. "We need to keep everyone standing. Riven, Mira, focus on offense. I'll handle the healing." With a nod, Mira and Riven intensified their efforts. They launched spells in perfect synchrony, each magical burst a testament to their growing bond. The creature faltered, but it was clear that their combined efforts wouldn't be enough to bring it down. Suddenly, the creature unleashed a dark wave of energy, sweeping through the ranks of magicians. Screams erupted as several were thrown back, crashing into the ground. The chaos sent a shiver down Mira's spine, but she couldn't let fear take hold. "Form a line," the Fire Mage shouted, rallying those still standing. "We need to unify our magic. Together." Mira looked around, spotting the guild members watching from the sidelines. The Grandmaster's expression had shifted from skepticism to worry. "They need to join us," she realized, her heart racing. "If we're going to defeat this thing, we need everyone." "Can we trust them?" Riven asked, glancing at the guild members who still hesitated. "It doesn't matter," Tessa replied fiercely. "We need them. They may have rejected us, but we can't let our past dictate our future." Mira felt a wave of resolve wash over her. "I'll call them. If they see us working together, maybe it will convince them to join the fight." Taking a deep breath, she shouted toward the guild. "You may have cast us out, but we're still magicians. This creature threatens all of us. We need your strength." At first, there was silence, uncertainty hanging in the air. Then, to Mira's surprise, the Grandmaster stepped forward. "We've made mistakes," he called out, his voice carrying over the chaos. "But we cannot let fear divide us now. If they can stand against this darkness, so can we." A murmur of agreement rippled through the guild members, and one by one, they stepped forward, magic crackling in their hands. Mira felt her heart swell with hope. This was the moment they had fought for. As the guild magicians joined forces with the outcasts, a new energy surged through the crowd. They formed a united front, each spell weaving together in a tapestry of light and elemental force. "Let's do this," Riven shouted, the winds swirling around them. "On my mark." With a synchronized shout, they launched their combined magic toward the dark creature, a dazzling array of colors and energies colliding against its shadowy form. The impact sent shockwaves through the battlefield, illuminating the night. But the creature roared defiantly, gathering its strength for one final assault. Tendrils of darkness lashed out, and the united front wavered. Mira gritted her teeth, pushing through the fear. "We can't let it break us," she yelled, her voice fierce. "Hold the line." As the creature struck, the combined magic met its dark energy in a stunning clash. Light fought against shadow, illuminating the battleground with a brilliance that cut through the darkness. Mira focused on the center of the chaos, where she saw the pulsing core of the creature, the source of its power. "We have to hit it there, together." With that rallying cry, the magicians surged forward, each pouring their energy into the final spell. Riven summoned winds to lift them. Tessa amplified their magic with healing light, and Mira wove illusions to distract and confuse. The clash reached its crescendo as the united force surged toward the core, an explosion of light and energy that sent tremors through the ground. In that moment, they felt their fears dissolve, replaced by the exhilaration of unity and purpose. And then, silence. As the blinding light enveloped the battlefield, time seemed to stand still. Mira felt the energy coursing through her, a pulse of magic that resonated with every magician present. The surge was unlike anything she had ever experienced, a harmonious blend of power and purpose that made her heart race with anticipation. The creature, momentarily stunned by the onslaught, writhed and roared, its dark tendrils flickering like dying embers. Mira could see the shimmering core pulsating with energy, its color dimming as their combined magic pressed against it. "Now," Riven shouted, his voice slicing through the tension. "Keep pushing." With a unified effort, the magicians poured their magic into the core. Mira felt the connection between them strengthen, an invisible thread binding their fates together. In that moment, she realized that their true power lay not just in their individual abilities but in their unity, a lesson they had fought hard to learn. The core began to crack, fissures spreading like lightning across its surface. A cacophony of energy erupted, radiating waves of light that drove back the shadows. Mira closed her eyes, focusing on her magic, channeling every ounce of determination into the spell. "Focus on the light," Tessa urged, her voice steady and unwavering. "We can defeat this darkness together." As they concentrated, the creature let out a final, anguished roar, a sound that echoed through the festival grounds. The ground shook beneath them, and a shockwave of energy rippled outward, throwing some magicians to the ground. But they didn't falter. Mira, Riven, and Tessa held strong, standing side by side, their magic intertwining in a magnificent display. With one last collective push, they struck the core directly, and a brilliant flash erupted from the creature. In an instant, the dark entity imploded, shattering into a cascade of sparks and shadows that dissolved into the night air. The battlefield fell silent as the remnants of darkness dissipated, leaving only the soft glow of magical energy lingering in the air. Mira opened her eyes, breathless, and looked around. The festival grounds were bathed in a warm golden light, the atmosphere now tranquil after the chaos. People began to stir, disbelief and awe evident in their expressions. "Did we do it?" Riven asked, still gripping Tessa's arm. Tessa smiled, her eyes shining with exhilaration. "I think we did." As the crowd erupted into cheers, Mira's heart soared. They had not only defeated the creature, they had proven their worth to the guild and themselves. She spotted the Grandmaster approaching, his expression softened from the stern demeanor he had worn earlier. "You have shown remarkable strength and unity," he said, his voice rich with sincerity. "Today, you've reclaimed not only your place among us, but also reminded us all of the power of collaboration." Mira felt a rush of emotion. "Thank you, but it was a group effort. We wouldn't have succeeded without everyone here." The fire mage joined them, clapping Riven on the back. "You three fought bravely. You've earned your place as champions of this festival." The cheers continued to rise around them, and Mira exchanged glances with her friends, their hearts filled with the joy of victory. It was a moment of triumph, not just for defeating a dark force, but for overcoming their past and embracing their identities as magicians. But as the celebration continued, a chilling wind swept through the festival, and Mira felt an unsettling energy prickling at the back of her mind. She glanced around, her heart sinking as she noticed shadows creeping along the edges of the gathering. "Something's not right," she whispered, her voice laced with concern. Riven followed her gaze, his brow furrowing. "You're right. This feels different." Tessa took a step closer, her face serious. "We can't let our guard down. If that creature was just a glimpse of something darker, we need to be prepared." The crowd continued to cheer, oblivious to the looming threat. But Mira, Riven, and Tessa knew they had to remain vigilant. They had faced darkness once, but it seemed the shadows were not yet done with them. Mira resolved to uncover the truth behind the emerging darkness. They had united once to defeat a creature. Now, they would have to band together again to confront whatever new threat lay ahead. The journey was far from over, and the real challenge was just beginning. As the celebration continued, the flickering lights cast long shadows across the festival grounds. Mira, Riven, and Tessa stood close together, a quiet resolve settling over them. The cheers of the crowd felt distant, overshadowed by the sense of impending danger that loomed just beyond their sight. "What do you think is happening?" Tessa asked, scanning the crowd for any signs of disturbance. Mira clenched her fists, her heart racing. "I don't know, but I can feel it. We need to find out if there's more to this darkness." Riven nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "Let's investigate. We can't let our guard down now." As they made their way through the throng of celebrants, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew heavy, a palpable tension settling in. Whispers of unease began to ripple through the crowd, the earlier joy quickly replaced by uncertainty. Then, without warning, a scream pierced the air. Mira, Tessa, Riven. It was the fire mage, his face ashen as he rushed toward them. "You need to see this." The trio followed him to the edge of the festival, where a group of magicians had gathered, their expressions a mix of shock and fear. In the center lay the remnants of the creature's dark energy, coalescing into a swirling mass that pulsed ominously. "It's reforming," the fire mage said, voice tense. "We thought it was defeated, but it seems it's just biding its time." Mira felt a chill run down her spine. "We need to contain it before it fully reawakens." "We've faced it once," Riven said, stepping forward, confidence beginning to build. "We can do it again, but we need everyone, guild and outcasts alike." Mira nodded. "Let's call them together. This time, we fight as one." As the trio rallied the magicians, the air crackled with urgency. The Grandmaster approached, his expression resolute. "I see now that we underestimated your potential. Together, we can defeat this darkness once and for all." With a newfound sense of unity, the magicians formed a circle around the swirling mass of dark energy. Mira, Riven, and Tessa took their positions at the forefront, hearts pounding as they prepared for the confrontation. "On my signal," the fire mage instructed, "we strike as one." Mira focused, drawing from the well of magic within her. She could feel the energy of her friends beside her, an unbreakable bond that fueled her resolve. As the fire mage counted down, her pulse quickened. 3, 2, 1. "Now!" They all shouted in unison. Together, they unleashed a torrent of magic toward the dark mass. Waves of fire, wind, and healing light collided with the shadows, illuminating the night with brilliant hues. The energy surged forward, but the creature fought back, tendrils of darkness lashing out. "Don't let it break our formation," Tessa shouted, sending healing energy into the ranks. "We can do this." Mira kept her focus, weaving illusions around the creature to confuse it, distract it, keep it off balance. As they pressed forward, the swirling mass began to fracture, the darkness swirling more violently. But the magicians held their ground, united by a common purpose. The creature roared, and for a moment, it seemed as if it might overwhelm them. But then, a bright light erupted from within the circle, ignited by their combined magic. "Together," Riven shouted, "focus all our energy on that core." Mira felt a surge of power as they concentrated their magic, pushing against the dark force with all their might. The mass began to break apart, shards of shadow splintering off into the night. In a final surge of determination, they all poured their magic into one brilliant blast. The darkness was engulfed in a wave of light, a beautiful explosion of colors that illuminated the entire festival. For a moment, the world held its breath. Then, with a deafening crack, The dark mass shattered completely, dissipating into the air like smoke in the wind. As silence fell over the battlefield, a sense of relief washed over the magicians. They stood together, panting but victorious, their hearts swelling with pride. They had faced darkness, and won. The crowd erupted in cheers, and for the first time, the guild members looked at the outcasts not with skepticism, but with respect. The Grandmaster stepped forward, extending a hand toward Mira. "You have proven yourselves today. Together, we are stronger." Mira took a deep breath, a smile breaking across her face. "Together," she echoed, glancing at Riven and Tessa. They had forged a new path, one that transcended past grievances and set the stage for a united future. As the festival resumed, they found themselves surrounded by friends and allies. It was a new beginning, one where darkness could be met with light, and unity could conquer fear. They had faced their shadows and emerged stronger together.